Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second ever episode of the Long Islander podcast. My name is John Potts, and I'm joined by my co-host Vin Pensabene. Want to say hi, Vin?
Hi, Vin.
Unfortunately, our third co-host Justin Foley is not going to be here tonight. He's busy, and we are recording at 1 o'clock in the morning, pretty much again. So, without further ado, let's get on with the show. What do you got for us, Vin?
Well, I just want to throw in quick two things. One, if Justin does eventually contact us saying that he wants to be on while we're recording, I'll add him.
Yeah. If Justin does wake back up, we're gonna add him in, but we'll see how it goes.
And two, I just want to promote a little bit of me going on the Dime podcast with Josh Rodriguez this week. I had a great time on there. Hopefully, if you guys haven't checked it out, check it out. Me and Josh had great discussion on a lot of NBA topics because that's basically what he's doing. And hopefully in the future we could get him on as a guest.
Of course, that'd be great.
But for our podcast, because we don't talk much NBA.
Not yet. We'll get into that.
Yet. Let's talk about the divisional series for baseball.
Let's do it.
So I want to start with my favorite series of this whole division.
Yes, sir.
The Brewers and the Rockies.
Oh, yes. The heartbreak.
The heartbreak of Rocktober.
Yeah. The end of Rocktober came long before. You know, that came about as quickly as the 21st night of September.
You know, that actually took me a second to get.
Yeah, so, you know what? You know, that was more of a Justin joke, but
I did not remember.
You know, Rocktober, it was a great story while it lasted, but I think we all knew it was going to come to an end. I mean, you and Justin were hopeful that you were going to get them to the World Series, but I didn't see it. When you need a third-string catcher to win you a game, I feel like you need more. The Brewers, they just have such a dominant pitching staff. They have such a dominant bench. I mean, even their starters, every advantage they could possibly have, aside from a ballpark, they had.
Yeah, I mean, I have some numbers. So in the 3 games they played, because the Brewers swept, obviously.
Yeah.
The Brewers bullpen threw 15.1 innings, gave up 2 runs, which were both on game 1 in the 9th inning. 8 hits total, had 3 walks, and ended up with 21 strikeouts.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
basically they're building how a lot of teams are building. Just the back end of your pen. And since baseball is heading in that weird trend, as we talked about a little bit last episode, of, all right, the starters only have to go 4 innings and then go to your bullpen, go to your heavy guys for an inning or 2 each. But the Brewers really just have that locked down with Nebel and Hader and
of course,
a few others.
And Jeffries, whatever his name is. I mean, they're such a dominant bullpen. And now, without question, they have the best bullpen in the remaining teams.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to throw in the Astros, but I can't see if these two teams do match up, I have to give the advantage to Milwaukee.
But you know, the thing that I think was the most notable from this series was at the end of the game, at the end of Game 3, the way they celebrate winning the series. They're at Coors Field. But you know what? Instead of celebrating with champagne, instead of celebrating with Coors, they bring in their own Miller Lite beer because they are Miller Park from Milwaukee. They celebrate with good old Miller Lite. They got it blasting off. I mean, there's nothing cooler than that, in my opinion, for the series.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, that was really like the cherry on top of the Brewers Sunday of this series.
It really was. Like, I think that really shows you that the Brewers truly love Milwaukee, and they stay true to their name that they are the Brewers.
Yeah, they definitely brewed up a lot of wins. I mean, after that series, they won 10 straight games.
Oh, of course. I mean, I think it was actually 11 straight games with that series because they were, I think that was their 11th straight win, was the Game 3 win. But for anyone who hasn't heard it, you may have heard the Go Cubs Go fight song, but I highly recommend to everyone out there that you look up the Brewers fight song because it's just as entertaining in my opinion. We're not going to plug it right now, but go ahead and search it up on YouTube. I guarantee you listening to it is going to bring a smile to your face because it does for me every time.
So you were right. I did search it up, and MLB's big headline at the moment is they just won their 12th straight. So
Yes,
you were right,
yes.
11. So I wanna give you your props for proving me wrong on this.
I didn't want to, Vin, but I've been big on the Brew Crew the whole postseason. I love him. I love Yelich. I'm a big fan of him. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to win the MVP hands down. So I got to defend the Brewers because I love them.
And for those of you who don't know John, John is a big fight song guy.
Oh, I
Uh,
love my fight songs.
during the Cubs Brewers, he whenever a team would score, he would play their fight song.
True, it's true. I mean, I do not like the Cubs. I strongly dislike them, but they have a great fight song in Go Cubs Go, and the Brewers have a great song. So I'm just sitting there, and anytime a run scores, I'm playing a song. So that's why I was honestly a little disappointed with the Rockies because they don't have a great fight song. Honestly, they're
John, your audio cut out a
so
little
much
bit.
respectful, but at the
Your
same
audio
time,
cut out a little bit there.
I think they play one of the it's like Rocky Mountain High. I don't even know. They play some Rocky Mountain rock song. But honestly, the Brewers, they've got a great fight song. They've got a great team. I think they could win the whole thing. But before we get to that, let's move on to who they're facing in the next round. Let's talk
Well,
about.
no, I want to talk a little bit about the Rockies.
You want to talk about the Rockies? What do you want to talk about with the Rockies? There's nothing left.
Do you think they are just a 1-year team, or do you think this team has a chance for the future?
I mean, here's the thing. Last year, they didn't get a postseason win.
Mm-hmm.
This year, they get a postseason win against the Cubs.
Technically, I hate counting the wild card as a postseason, but I know it is.
Well, I mean, they lost in the post. They lost the wild card game last year. They won it this year. So are they going to do that thing where you steadily get better? I don't know. I mean, they play in a really tough division. The Dodgers are always going to be stacked. They have such a great market that they can continue to add talent. Like the biggest free agent they've lost in years went to a division rival in the Diamondbacks, but even Greinke, he's not looking like he did when he was a Dodger. I mean, I think if he's still on the Dodgers, he's going to be winning playoff games, but he goes to the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks, they look great this entire season leading that division, but unfortunately they collapsed. And I think the only reason the Rockies even made the playoffs was because of that collapse.
Yeah, I mean, really, the Diamondbacks, I mean, they have a lot of question marks too going in. I mean, I know we're probably going to talk about this in a future episode, but Corbin's a free agent, and it'll just be a little weird to see what the Diamondbacks can do.
Yeah, I feel like the Rockies, they have a good team. They have really good players. They have Arenado, they have Story, they have Blackman. All of those guys are really good, but the thing is, you're still playing in Coors Field, and unfortunately, until you get a pitching staff that can pitch in Coors Field, until you get some of those aces, until you get yourself an Aaron Nola, a Jacob deGrom, or even a Noah Syndergaard. I know I'm talking all NL East here, but those are the kind of guys that I could see hitting the market. Until you get a pitcher like that, I don't think you're going to be able to have that kind of success that you're looking for.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But let's jump to the other NL series that we had.
My heart.
John's favorite NL East team on the record, Atlanta Braves.
Whoa. My favorite NL East team is obviously the Phillies. I went on record saying the only reason I wanted the Braves to win is so it made me feel less bad about the fact that my team was so shitty.
So we had the Braves versus Brooklyn's forgotten son, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah, the law.
Your
Dodgers.
Your connection cuts out a little bit.
I know.
So
they those two every once in a while. We'll see how it goes when it's actually up.
Yeah, just in case.
The Dodgers themselves, they're just so stacked. They're paying more for their players than anyone else is. They acquired $30 million worth of talent at the trade deadline with Machado, Dozier, and Freese. And, some of those guys aren't even starting games. But you look at them, and then they have such a good starting rotation when Kershaw is on his game. We'll talk about his blow-up tonight later. But he was so good in that series. Ryu looked good. The Dodgers, the Braves they're just not ready. They're such a young team. Freddie Freeman, he looked like he was trying to do it, but I don't think I like Freddie Freeman, but I don't think he's good enough to win you a series. I think he's a nice piece. Nick Markakis, I mean, he's having the best season of his entire career at 34 or older. I mean, he played out of his mind. Acuna had that great grand slam, but I think unless you have Acuna doing stuff like that, there's not a chance that they could have won this series.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think this was the Braves coming out party for the national
Yeah.
baseball fan that didn't really pay attention to Atlanta or the NL East in general. Like,
Mhm.
as a Yankees fan, I really didn't pay attention to the Braves come up
Yeah,
unless
of
that
course.
series that they played in New York.
Yeah, I mean,
So
to be
it
honest with
was
you, if
it was
I'm
good.
if I'm not a Philadelphia Phillies fan, I don't know the Atlanta Braves. Like we play them so many times a year. We started the season against them. Like we were neck and neck for a lot of the season in the divisional race until we eventually collapsed. But the Braves, they have so much good young talent. But I think what it really comes down to is the fact that they don't have pitching. They started full Nevich, and I couldn't even tell you who that started the other two games for them. But I know that Julio Teheran, their opening day starter, did not pitch a single inning. He never even came out. Like your opening day starter, you don't even use him as a bullpen guy. I can't imagine what you're doing there. I'm not saying like I don't know enough about the Braves. I didn't watch a lot of this series to be honest with you because it was on at weird times. But what kind of manager do you have to be that your brilliant idea is not pitch your opening day starter?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little weird. Uh, I mean, again, I don't know too much of the Brave situation, so
Of
I
course.
don't know if it was an innings limit or
Well,
if he
no,
had
I have no idea what it was. It was just not a
it
single in.
was it was just they didn't throw him.
No, he was the only pitcher on their team that didn't appear.
Oh well, that is a little
Only
weird.
one. Yeah, like I could understand an innings limit, but like he didn't even like step
Yeah,
on the
yeah. I mean, again, I don't
oh, cut
know.
out again.
I
There
don't
we
know
go.
his numbers off the top of my head. I didn't research them. I don't. I
Yeah.
doubt you did
Oh,
either.
of course. I wouldn't expect you to. I just thought that was a little bit of an interesting stat. Like I don't
Yeah.
know how good a pitcher he is against the Dodgers. I just know opening day starter because I remember it was Nola versus Tehran, and I had my own thoughts about that game. I was calling for Gabe Kapler's head week one, but now at the end of the season, I'm thinking some of these Braves fans, a lot of them are probably happy. I think most Braves fans are happy just to have made it. They didn't expect to be here. They didn't expect to win, even a game. I mean, if you're an Atlanta Braves fan, in my opinion, be happy. As a Phillies fan, all I wanted all season was to reach a 500 record. I feel like a lot of Braves fans kind of had that same mentality going into the season because a lot of people thought the Nationals were going to be really good. A lot of
Mhm.
people thought the Mets were going to be really good. The Nationals end up, kind of stringing something together at the end there, not like a real push, but just competency. The Mets, I mean, they had such good pitching, but they have no offense, which was really a shame for Jacob deGrom. But I think the Mets, they just capitalized on a great situation of playing in a terrible division that ends up carrying them into the playoffs. But then when they had to play a tough team like the Dodgers, they just didn't have it in them.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really good for these guys to get postseason experience. I mean, I knowing as a Yankees fan, last year how they did it was they put Gleyber Torres and Miguel Andujar. They let them sit on the bench
Of course.
for the playoffs, but not be on the roster. So
Yeah.
I think just this Braves team getting some postseason experience a little earlier than expected
Yeah. Yeah.
is
I
something
think
good.
that's a big thing. I think it's a big thing for them in the years to come. Honestly, I completely agree with you there that in the future, this team could be scary if they just get, if they get a pitcher like Sale or
Yeah,
DeGrom, if they get someone like that, I think this is a team that's scary.
and I mean they don't even need a top flight pitcher. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have a healthy Teheran and
Yeah.
they get a mid level pitcher just with some experience, I think that could
Honestly,
help
if
them
you
out a
get
lot.
someone better than Kevin Gausman from the Orioles, I think they
Yeah,
would have done more.
yeah. Uh, anything about the Dodgers you want to talk about? Ryu threw 7 innings, a gem.
I mean,
Kershaw.
yeah. I mean, Kershaw looked great in that series. I mean, we'll get into tonight later, like I said, but when you watch that series, like we had no faith in Kershaw. We were saying they were still going to blow up, but he looked really good. I mean, we can we talk about Machado out of nowhere? He's just like, I'm going to start hitting home runs now.
I think he realized his contract was coming up,
Yeah, I think
and
Manny
he
Machado.
wanted a few more dollars.
I think he was like, "Hey, wait, you mean if I win a World Series, I can make more money?"
Yeah, I mean, And by the looks of it, I don't even think off of what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dodgers, they're such a good team. They have such a strong offense. Their pitching staff, it's veterans. I think they have a serious shot.
Yeah, as do I. I know you don't want to really go into predictions as much
Yeah,
with
I mean, we'll get into our championship series preview after we get into this stuff.
yeah. So it's up to you how you want to do this. I know we had a format coming in. Do you want to talk about the NL series as a whole
Yeah,
and just do the NL?
why don't we just finish up the NL? We'll talk about the NLCS. Obviously, we're recording this after the first game. Unfortunately, Vin didn't get to watch that much of it. But for those who don't know, we are doing Brewers versus Dodgers. Brewers with the first seed. They're hosting at home. It was an electric atmosphere tonight. The Brewers fans, they were all in. It was a great game to the very end. It looked like it was going to be a lot like the Yankees game was. However, the Dodgers end up battling back there at the end. They take it down to the last out of the game where they have a chance to win it. The Brewers, they lit up Clayton Kershaw, which honestly, I feel like it was coming.
I think we know who said that Kershaw was going to fall off a cliff. Sorry, my camera really didn't focus there.
Yeah. The thing is, Vin, I feel like everyone besides Dodgers fans was saying that Kershaw was about to fall off a cliff.
I did love to plug your tweet.
Oh, oh yeah.
So my phone was dying. I was at Applebee's for a birthday dinner, and I see just somebody randomly liked your tweet about the Kershaw pitching.
Yeah, for those who didn't see it, it's one of my favorite memes. I have the quote going
At Long Islander Pod.
Oh, yes, of course, at Long Islander Pod on everything, but this specifically was on Twitter. We had Dodgers fans when they realized Clayton Kershaw is melting down again when a few hours ago they said he was back to being a star. And it's just one of my favorite memes of Homer Simpson just sliding back into the hedges.
I love that meme.
I mean, it's one of my favorites. I thought it was an absolutely perfect opportunity to use it because I heard it from all these Dodger fans. They were like, Kershaw's back. He's going to win us a World Series. But the thing is, I love Kershaw. I think he's one of the best pitchers of all time. But in the postseason, he just doesn't get it done. We're going to get to David Price. He's not nearly that bad. But Kershaw's just not the guy that's going to win you a World Series.
Well, that's a little bold, especially that my prediction was really going down to Kershaw. In this, I want to hear your prediction first before I jump into mine. So, what do you have this Dodgers Brewers series?
I'm gonna say the Brewer. I'm gonna say Brewers in either 5 or 6 games. I'm leaning more towards 6, just because the Dodgers are a really good team, and because of the way the format is for the championship series and the World Series, where it's 2-3-2. I think that gives a little bit of an advantage to the Dodgers to be able to make it a Game 6 winning opportunity for the Brewers because, I mean, they had Kershaw out there tonight. He got blown up. The Brewers bullpen, Hader looked fantastic. I think it started to get a little too much near the end where they had too much pressure because I think they went to the bullpen a little bit too early because, their guy allowed 1 home run. They go to the bullpen, but for anyone that didn't watch this game, they put in their bullpen guy, and he ends up swinging like he gets an at bat. Like he pitches his inning, he comes in, he gets an at bat, and he hits a monster home run. And I'm sitting here, I was watching this game with my parents, and it was 1-0. This bullpen guy, I'm like, you're letting a bullpen guy swing a bat? Next thing I know, he's hitting a ball over the center field wall, and I'm like, okay, never mind. I know nothing about managing.
I think your audio cut out unless you stopped. Yeah.
No, I stopped and I was talking
okay.
to you.
Sorry. I wanted to ask you because I had to search it up. Without looking it up, because I already did, do you know the pitcher's name that hit the home run?
I mean, I do because I tweeted about it, but at the same time, it's 1:00 in the morning. And if you ask me to remember the name of random white guy with a beard number 3, I couldn't do it right now.
Yeah. Well, it's Brandon Woodruff.
Oh, that's right. I can tell you he's 25 years old and that he's a lefty.
You know everything about him except his name.
I mean, I Googled the guy and I can remember some things. I just can't remember his basic name.
That's okay. So
I know he
you,
wants to be a starter next season.
uh, I don't blame him. I mean, he gets more at bats.
Exactly. I mean, are we looking at the next Madison Bumgarner here?
We could have a home run derby between those two.
Oh, I mean, give me that. We'll get into that later, but pitchers in the home run derby is something I've wanted for a long time.
But yeah, because now I hate you. I had the same exact pick of Brewers in 6.
There we go.
Uh, that was before game 1, so
Yeah.
I know if the Dodgers go to 7. I don't know if Dave Roberts announced this or not, so don't quote me on this fully.
All right.
But Kershaw would pitch game 1, 4, and 7.
Okay.
And I'm not a Kershaw guy, so
Okay.
I don't see the Dodgers picking up 2 wins with Kershaw on the mound.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And if it does eventually go to a game 7, this Brewers team is just too hot right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if Kershaw does, like, if they win a game that he's pitched, I don't think he gets the win. I think it'll be one of those where he goes like 4 innings and he pitches pretty well. He ends up basically just getting a hold, and then some other guy comes in for a win. But, I mean, I don't know. I love this Brewers team. I think they've got a lot of heart. I think they're having a lot more fun than the Dodgers team is.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have a much better manager, hands down, straight up. Like, to think about the fact that you go, all right, I'm facing one of the best pitchers in baseball, and I'm going to let my bullpen guy stay in and attempt to hit here, and he ends up getting a monster home run off playing Kershaw. I think that set the tone for the game, and honestly, I think it might have set the tone for the series.
Yeah, I mean, now the Dodgers have their back against the wall. You want to win at least one of these two. And by the way, I know we had this whole discussion beforehand of what the series format is. I should have just thought about it last year with the Yankees Astros because they couldn't win a away game.
Yeah.
But with that, the Dodgers, I think with your fun aspect, the Dodgers, they're expected to be World Series winners.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, last year they were 1 game away from winning the World Series.
I mean, they were an inning away.
Yeah. So, I mean, they have all these expectations coming in. Exactly. They almost didn't even make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, they almost didn't make the playoffs after trading for Manny Machado.
Yeah, which, I mean, is a big failure in that sense. I mean, some people, I thought they were going to be clinched practically when the Red Sox clinched the postseason.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that, but in my heart, there was just part of me that was saying that Dave Roberts somehow can find a way to mess this up.
Yeah. And also, the one thing about baseball that I love is it's not the NFL, it's not the NBA, where if you have one team that's a lot better than the other team that they're facing on paper, both teams have a shot to win this.
Yeah, of course.
Like in NBA, if you see like what's a decent team? A decently good team.
The Washington Wizards.
So if you see the Wizards facing the Hornets, you know how that the Wizards are most likely winning that game.
Yeah.
And like in the NFL, if you see the Rams right now playing the Buccaneers, you know how that game's going.
Well, you know, I feel like that might be a little much. I feel like if we're trying to do that comparison for the NFL, I feel like that's more like, you know, the Saints versus not the Saints versus the Buccaneers because they kind of
bring that one up.
Thanks to Fitzmagic.
I'm trying to make a point here.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Like that thing, you know, a team more like, you know, let's say the Patriots, like, you know, that they lost in the Super Bowl last year, just like the Dodgers, you know, lost in the World Series last year. Just wanted to bring that up for anyone that's a Boston fan, real quick.
Hi, Tom.
That's for you. Anyway, so you got anything else to say about this series, Ben?
No, not really, except that I do like this whole Brew Crew thing.
Oh, I love the Brew Crew.
And how much fun would it be if they sweep this series and sweep the World Series and they have this like 20-game win streak?
Vin, now you're just getting me all excited. I mean,
I know. Well, I had to hop off the Rockies because they lost, so now I have to hop onto the Brewers.
Listen, I don't know if I want your kind of support on this. You know what? I love you, Vin. We'll accept it. I think the Brewers I think honestly, there's a chance the Brewers could sweep this series, as crazy as that sounds, because I feel like their bullpen is so good that they could pull it off. They're not gonna have like the game tonight. It was 6-5, I think was the
Yeah.
final score. Like you're gonna have a lot of high scoring games, I think, in this series. By one of the two teams, I think one team's gonna score a lot of runs. I think both teams are gonna score a lot of runs. I'd prefer if the Brewers. I think Hader's going to be locked down. I think he is going to get blown up at some point, and it's going to be embarrassing. But I think he'll rebound in time.
Well,
But
they have Kenley Jansen to worry about there for a blow up.
I mean, Kenley Jansen, he was warming up tonight to come out in the bottom of the ninth if the Dodgers managed to pull something off, and I'm like, I get why you're doing this, but are
Yeah.
you sure it's the best idea?
I totally understand where you're coming from
Yeah,
there.
yeah. All right. So you got anything else on this series, Ben?
No, I think I'm done with the NL.
All right. Well, let's get into probably, in my opinion, the worst series of the first round: Houston versus Cleveland.
Really? You didn't like that series?
I mean, as someone who was rooting for Houston, I thought it was cool. But at the same time, even the TV schedule knew the games were going to be terrible because they scheduled every game at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
I do have an issue with that. If quickly, because I have this big whole rant of how MLB should be more popularized. But if you want to have, because I think this was the Astros, I think are the best all around team in
Yeah,
baseball.
I agree.
And if you want to promote your game as an MLB, you
Yeah.
want to at least get them one game primetime. I understand they're battling the Yankees, Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going with where you know the most fans are going to watch.
Yeah, of
But
course.
promoting your own league and your own teams, I mean, just rotate it a little bit. I think that's an issue. But you were pretty good with your plus 15 runs
Yeah, yeah.
thing last episode.
I was feeling pretty good. I thought the Astros were going to blow them out of the water. Like the Indians, they played in the worst division in baseball, in my opinion,
Yeah.
from a perspective of the teams you have to face. Like they had the easiest schedule to get to the postseason. I said last week, I think the Tampa Bay Rays win that division if they're in it, and I still stand by that. I think the Indians, they had a fun story with Ramirez going 30 and 30 plus,
Mm-hmm.
actually. But the thing is, you look at the Astros, they're a team that looks like they just coasted the entire season, and now they're locked in. They're having more fun than anyone on the planet because, unlike the Dodgers, who have the expectation to make it and win back the World Series, the Astros fans, they're kind of just like, we won a World Series. We're happy. But at the same time, if our team does it again, we're going to be even happier. But we're not going to be mad if our team isn't. And I think the Astros, because they're such a young core and they have a good manager and they have an outstanding pitching staff, the best middle infield in all of baseball history, in my opinion. And then they have postseason George Springer, who might be the best player we've ever seen.
Yeah, I think Manny Machado's giving him a little run for his money right now. But George Springer is definitely one of the best postseason players that we've seen
Well,
lately.
the reason I'm going to give that edge to Springer right now is because Machado's this good in the regular season. Like Springer, it's just like once that calendar hits October, he's like, all right, time to wake up, time to put on my cleats, time to play, time to hit home runs.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I would give it the edge. I was just trying to give you a little
Oh, of course, man,
competition
of
there.
course, of course. Got
Uh,
to play some devil's advocate. But one thing that I think is really important to mention about the Astros, every one of those guys can hit a home run, but they don't need to.
yeah, and I mean, if I don't know if you noticed this, John, but the Astros have some very good starting pitchers.
Oh, yeah, you don't say, Vin. Who do they have?
Uh, they have a few people actually. They have a Justin Verlander
Oh yeah, yeah. You know that guy that
who
won a Cy Young and MVP.
almost
Yeah.
who I read off personally. I'm assuming you did too because everybody did.
Wait, what I do?
Write off Verlander a few years ago.
No, I would never write off Justin Verlander. It's for one very simple reason.
Kate Upton.
Exactly. If you can marry Kate Upton, you're smart enough that as soon as you get out of Detroit, you're going to be good again.
I don't even think smart enough is is what you could say. I think lucky enough.
I mean, listen, the dude, if he outside of the AL Central, he's winning something.
I mean, he's already an MVP.
I mean, yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, last year and even now, like, you look at Detroit, they're so bad compared to
Yeah.
what they used to be. I think if you put Verlander on basically any one of these playoff teams, he's leading them to a World Series.
Uh, yeah. I mean, he's gonna give you 3 great starts.
Yeah, I mean, aside from like put him on the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Brewers, and obviously the Astros where he currently is. If he's on any of those, he's gonna give you a chance to win 3 possible games.
Yeah, and I mean, you just need one game to go your way
Of course.
for the series.
Of course, he would not let the other team score 7 runs while he's pitched. What? I mean, we'll get onto that in a second. Anyway,
I want to tell you a little story quick.
All right, then. What story you got for me?
So I never told this story to Justin, so you get this whole.
All right, I'm excited. I'm excited for the podcast world to hear it.
So I might be related to a former Astro, and that's why I had to cheer for them this series.
Really, Vin?
Yes. I know you haven't paid attention to baseball much throughout the past.
Yes, of course.
But does a random utility player named, well, he's not really a utility player, Mark Loretta, ever ring a bell?
I feel like that's a familiar enough name that I've heard of it.
Yeah, he jumped around a few teams actually, but I have family with the same last name.
Okay.
And if they're listening, there's your shout out.
There you go.
But they tried to get in contact to see if there's a family line that connects.
Gotcha.
Obviously, because he's a famous baseball player, he never
obviously you want that, Ben.
He didn't want it. He didn't care. He was like, "Oh, I'm not going to respond to this. I don't know you random people."
I mean, I wouldn't.
But until we get told no, I'm going to say I'm related to him.
There you go. I mean, I respect it, Vin. You go ahead and say whatever you want to say. That's the best defense you can have for being an Astros fan. Besides, they're really good.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody on that team knows how to hit really well. They know how to defend.
Oh, of course. I mean, you look at that.
Again, I think this is the best team left in the postseason, or just in baseball.
They're
all around.
Honestly, they're kind of the Warriors of baseball.
They are. Yeah, I mean,
all phases of the game. They have a good bullpen, great starting rotation, great lineup. Like these guys, every single one of their designated hitter, if he hit a triple, it's probably the least surprising triple out of designated hitters that are currently left in.
Designated hitters. It's hard to think of designated hitters with these NL teams. So I don't know.
I know it's real. I mean, let's be real. If you're gonna have a designated hitter for the Brewers, it's probably either Travis Shaw or Aguilar that's gonna be playing at DH. And then for the Dodgers, they're probably gonna go Muncy at DH. I would say take him out of the field so they can keep Freese there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Muncy, he ain't hitting you a triple. Aguilar, not a chance. And JD Martinez, maybe, but I don't know. I think the Astros, they're young, they're quick, and they've got great bats. They've got great pitching. Once again, I think this series was over before it even started. I said Astros in 3. You said Astros in 2, which honestly might have been the most accurate take possible.
Yes, I'd like that to be on record it was already on record that I said Astros in 2.
Of course, Vin. I would have said that, but I didn't know we were allowed to make those kind of calls on this podcast.
I planned on Astros in 3, but I wanted to be different. So
well, you know what? At least we didn't say the Indians had a chance. That was all Justin Foley, for the record.
Yeah, that's why he's not on today's podcast.
Yeah, that's the reason we're going to go with. That's the best reason we have.
All right. So I thought that Gerrit Cole can leave after this year. Apparently he can't. That's what I've been trying to look up while you were talking, in case you were wondering why I was looking everywhere but you.
You know what, Vin? You do what you gotta do. You are looking at our stats. You run this show. I'm just here to try to provide some comedy and some thoughts.
I don't think I necessarily run this show, but I mean, I appreciate it.
But you do most of the hard work.
Eh, it's sports. It's not really too hard to
Listen,
talk about.
to be honest with you guys, I know we're recording this podcast a day later than we originally planned. It was
Because
because
of me.
Ben was telling Justin and I that we should record this last night by ourselves, and we were like, "Listen, man, we're not recording this without you. This was your idea."
Well, it was my internet being horrible,
I
and
know.
then it came back on at like 12:30, and I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this to these guys. So
I mean, you know what? We didn't do it last night. We were going to be down a guy. We're doing it tonight. We're down a guy. But you know what? It's okay because we're going to have a great show. I hope everyone's enjoying it.
halfway through,
Enjoys
we
it.
hope you're enjoying. So if you didn't enjoy, I'm sorry that we had to wait. You had to wait till this long to be asked.
Yeah. We hope you enjoy though, and we're sorry that Justin's not here. If you miss him, be sorry he's not here. You can tell him personally at Froley393 that it's his fault that the podcast wasn't as good.
Yeah. So speaking about Foley sorrows, let's talk about the Yankees Red Sox because I don't want to talk about my sorrows.
All right, Vin. Well, I'm going to let you start off as the Yankee fan. You say what you want to say, and then I'm going to get into my hot takes.
Okay. So last episode, I said the Yankees have a chance to win this, and they have a chance to win game one if Chris Sale continues to not be healthy or have his fastball.
Of course.
He had his fastball, and he had his off-speed stuff.
Yeah, he had all the things you don't want him to have if you want him to beat him.
Yeah, so their bullpen, the Red Sox bullpen, obviously, they had their issues game one. But the Yankees just didn't get it done. They hit off a Price in game two.
Yeah, I mean, nobody was hitting at all.
Yeah.
Especially with they were like 0 with runners in scoring position, which is not what you want to be.
Yeah, and just games 3 and 4, 16-1 game 3, biggest loss in Yankees postseason history, which is very long if you look at
it. Yeah, let's not forget though, Vin, before I let you get too high on your horse there, Brock Holt, the first player to hit for the cycle in the MLB postseason. If you ask anyone in the world who they think is going to hit the first MLB cycle, or who hit it in 20 years, if you say who hit the first MLB cycle, because that's going to be some kind of bar trivia question, it's going to be the one that everyone gets wrong unless they lived in Boston in 2018.
Or you lived in New York and you watched him do it to you.
Listen, I didn't want to rub that face, Vin.
Which I don't really know if we can count that as a cycle. I know he actually did all the things possible, but he hit the home run off of Andrew Romine.
Here's my opinion, though. It would, first of all, that was Austin Romine.
That's what I meant. Sorry.
Don't
think I would know my Yankees catcher.
Don't get the brothers confused here. One's in Seattle.
I'm trying to help his ERA.
Fair, but the thing is, it's a home run. I mean, this doesn't mean anything. Like, Brock Holt, this is probably going to be the best moment of his young life that he hit for the cycle in an MLB postseason game. Like, the guy, I feel happy for the guy. Like, it was cool for him because he wasn't starting. And I think games 1 or 2, they end up bringing him off the bench to start game 3. Yeah. Hit for the cycle. I mean, if this is a close game and he hits a home run like closer than this, Vin, like if it's 10-1 and he hits for the cycle with that home run, then maybe.
Yeah, then you have the grip.
Story that we're going to be talking about for years. I feel good for the guy. And look, do you got anything else to say for this, Vin, or are you ready for me to start digging into my takes?
I have a little bit more, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, Vin. Go ahead, because I'm going to rant for a good couple minutes.
All right. So game 4, basically, I was done as a Yankee fan. They get the 4-1 lead, the Red Sox do. Going into the bottom of the 9th, Kimbrel's coming in after Chris Sale came in for an inning, which I was very annoyed at.
I mean, the thing is, it made sense to bring him in. Like, he locked it down. He wanted to go in. It's Madison Bumgarner 2.0.
Yeah, but Kimbrel comes in. I am deflated. I'm like, okay, season's over. And then they started making a run, which I know not many people are going to understand this. But my take is that if the Yankees coming back just ruined it for me, because I was done. I was like, I still watched the game. Don't get me wrong. I actually watched all 18 innings at Yankee Stadium, which was very tough.
Yeah,
but
that was really fun.
Just them coming back and not finishing it was a killer. But
hold on, I'm gonna move you for a second.
But yeah, if you give up 20 runs and only score 4 in 2 home postseason games, you don't deserve to win. But I know you probably didn't hear this because you're not clicked into Yankees as much as I am.
Yeah, hang on. I just want to point out, when Vin says I'm not clicked into the Yankees, what he means to say is that I have actually muted the word of every single Yankees player so that I do not have to see tweets about them during the regular season.
Oh, I did not know that. So that's actually pretty fun.
I think that was something you didn't know, Vin. I actually block Yankees Twitter accounts.
Oh, man. Hopefully you can block
me. I start blocking them. That's mostly because our boy Justin Foley, Froley393 on Twitter, continually retweets things. Same with Eric Phillips, my roommate, who graciously is our resident statistician for this podcast. Both of them are big fans of the Yankees, just like Vin, but they're both more crazy, and everything they do is just tweets about the Yankees or retweets about the Yankees. So during the regular season, I just could not stand that on my timeline anymore.
So make sure Eric knows he's an unpaid intern for us.
Oh, of course, that's been clear.
Okay, and as I was trying to say before, you wanted to go and tell me about your hatred of the Yankees Twitter.
It's not the hatred of your Twitter; it's the repeating of your Twitter many times throughout my day.
Yeah, I do get annoyed looking at Twitter and seeing Foley and Eric's constant Yankee stuff. I have enough Yankee stuff on my Twitter. I don't need you guys giving me more of the same stuff.
Exactly. But it's one thing to see it from the person themselves, but then when I see the quote tweet with "I totally agree with this," that's when you start to get a little annoyed.
Yeah, but today, yesterday technically, so Friday.
Yeah.
The Yankees had their end of season press conferences, and Aaron Boone was basically saying, I got a little too greedy with my starting pitching, keeping him in a little too long. And he kind of
you can say that I don't know how to manage.
Yeah, I mean, he's a rookie manager. You can't kill him. But there were some questionable decisions. Even Hal Steinbrenner, owner of the Yankees, was even saying, I questioned Sevy coming out for the 4th inning in Game 3. And I know you're probably going to go into this a little bit, but Severino and that whole Game 3 not knowing the start time.
Oh, well, I mean, that's actually something that I wasn't going to mention because I feel like that should, I'm not going to put that on the kid. He is a kid. He should.
Well, no, I put that on Boone and Larry Rothschild as the pitching coach.
Obviously, he should know the start time. They should have.
Everybody knew the start time. Every fan in that stadium knew the start time. Everybody but
listen, Vin. In his defense, it's a 7:40 start time.
Yeah, I mean it is different.
Normal.
Yeah.
So here's my defense of that though. This is a kid. His job's to pitch. His job is not to tell time. His job isn't even to speak English. His job is to come out there and pitch. So you say to him, warm up now. I'm not putting it on the kid. I think it's one of those weird fluke things that just happened. But honestly, in my personal opinion, that game, that's when you knew the Yankees were done.
Yeah.
Because you have that happen. You have Lance Lynn fall off the mound. You have a 16-1 loss with Brock Holt hitting for the cycle. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
All right, you got anything else before I go into my hot take here?
I did have one thing. I'm trying to remember exactly what. Oh, all right. I know what it was. Right. I didn't write it down, so.
You're good, man.
Yankees Twitter. I follow them a lot, so I just want to say I want to start this off. I don't hate Luis Severino, okay? I know there's a lot of people that take that side because he hasn't been good in the postseason, and the second half wasn't.
The kid, let him go.
Yeah, but a lot of people in Yankees universe and maybe baseball, I'm not too sure about that part, but they look at Luis Severino and think he is a Chris Sale, Jacob deGrom starter. But I don't think he's there yet. I think he has a chance, but he showed his flaws. I noticed reports that the Red Sox caught up on his pitches and tipped it a little bit.
I mean, it's Boston. We're always going to say there's cheating.
No, but if they did, power to them. Yankees should be able to get their signs across and not have the opponents realize what's happening.
Yeah. All right. So this is a question that I ask a lot to my friends that are Yankees fans. I'm going to ask you the same question, Vin, because you're the only one that I have not asked yet.
Okay. As I'm wearing a Pirates hat.
Turn your Pirates hat around. That's not even the PA team we're talking about right now.
Okay.
Luis Severino or Aaron Nola? Who do you want?
You see, I don't know enough about Nola.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. He shut down the Red Sox this year. Who do you want?
I mean, the Yankees had a few games where they shut down the Red Sox, and
Sevy?
I think Sevy had one good start against the Red Sox this year.
One good start.
Yeah, but you also have to keep in mind that the Red Sox don't have as much information on Nola as they do on a guy they see.
I mean, yeah,
3 times a year.
That's fair, but here's the way I look at it. Aaron Nola, this is obviously there's homer bias here. I'm a Philadelphia fan. Aaron Nola is my favorite player. I've gone on record saying that if he ever leaves the Phillies organization in a trade, I'm going to stop being a fan. If he ever leaves us by free agency, I'm going to do everything I can to burn the team he goes to the ground. I love Aaron Nola. He's one of my favorite players in all of baseball, probably my favorite player in baseball. I think if you have him as your ace, I think he's not quite DeGrom, but I think he's up there in that kind of tier with those guys already. So in my personal opinion, if you have Aaron Nola on your staff instead of Luis Severino, I think you win that game.
You see, I think the postseason is a little bit of a different animal.
I realize that.
And Nola we haven't seen what Nola's done in the playoff situation yet. I think eventually he will get enough opportunities that you will see him.
I just have one thing to say.
Okay.
He's never missed the start of the game.
All right. I guess he has a 1-0 advantage on that.
Exactly. So right now.
Right now, Nola has the advantage. I'll give you that.
That's all I need.
I'll let you have that little clip.
All I need.
Before we get into your hot take, who do you have Astros Red Sox series? Just quick. We don't have to go too deep into this.
I'm gonna go because it's 2-3. So it's 2-3-2. Boston.
Red Sox have
Boston
first two, last two. They have 1, 2, 6, 7 at home.
Houston and 5.
Houston and 5.
Houston and 5.
You see, I also had this series in 6 games, and on my ride home tonight, I had a 10-minute debate with myself trying to pick who I think is actually going to win this series. I landed on the Astros, but these Red Sox hitters, after watching them for a whole season and 4 games more, they can hit anything. They can hit a Verlander, a Garrett Cole, Dallas Keuchel, who gets a ground ball more than half of the time, which I think is incredible.
It's insane.
But this team can hit, and the bright lights don't phase them. So I think it will be a fun series. I think the series will be better than the NL series.
I mean, I don't know. I think it'll come. On paper, this is a much better series, but I think because of the fact that they're both so stacked and evenly matched, it might make for a less interesting series, if that makes sense, to watch.
I think I understand.
Because I feel like it's going to be that series where it's either very high scoring or it's a 1-0 win.
Yeah.
But here is why I'm saying Astros, and it's very simple, Vin.
Boston's bullpen. I got you.
Nope, it's not that.
Oh.
You're close. You're very close.
All
It's
right.
someone that should be in their bullpen. David Price. I'm sorry, man. Listen, I think you're a great pitcher. I had so much hope for you. I said you were going to melt down. I didn't want you to melt down. I don't have anything against you. I think you're a cool dude. I think it's cool that you play Fortnite, even though you're 30 years old. It's a little weird, but you do you, man.
Go to PUBG.
But here's the thing. In the postseason, David Price is bad. He's very, very bad. He's 2-9 in the postseason, and that's without factoring in his no decision games because there's got to be some of those too. I think the last time that he's won anything that you could consider the postseason was 23.
You kind of cut out. So when was the last time?
2013, I'm guessing here. 2013 with the Rays, game 163, I believe was the last time that David Price won anything that's not a traditional regular season game. And since coming to Boston, he has not won a single postseason game.
Yeah.
So here's what I think is going to happen because you saw it against the Yankees. Gary Sanchez owned him, absolutely owned him. And Gary Sanchez has got power, but he's not a great hitter. So if you throw David Price against this Astros team, they're stacked from 1 to 9. Every one of these guys, George Springer might hit 3 home runs off him.
He'll go full Acuna.
He's going to go full Acuna and just hit home runs repeatedly. I have nothing against David Price. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great pitcher. I wish that he had more success, but I think the fact that he's probably going to pitch game 2, I think they win game 1's going to be amazing tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be a great pitching matchup, but I think in game 2, Price is just not going to be able to handle this Astros lineup. If I'm wrong, I will own up to it. I will 100% admit I was wrong. I just don't think he's got it in him to hold this Astros lineup down. He did it last season for 6 innings, I think. He ended up holding them down pretty good. But I think Houston's even better this year than they were last year. I think they're going to come out. I think they're going to swing the bats, especially if Sale's able to shut them down in game 1. I think that only hurts Price because they're going to be even angrier. And then I think if they can steal a game in Boston, they might win 3 straight at home.
Yeah, I mean, watching them a little bit, I don't watch them as much, obviously, because they're not in the Yankees division.
Yeah, of course.
But watching them last year's postseason run, they were special. And they practically had the same lineup and rotation. And
they only added players.
Yeah, they didn't lose anybody that was too significant, unless you count Giles. I don't think he made the ALCS roster at all. Well, but they have Osuna.
They replaced Giles with Osuna because Giles got shipped in that trade. So he's now the closer for the Toronto Blue Jays. So they upgraded and they got a younger guy out of it too, which regardless of the issues he might have, he's certainly an upgrade from a pitching perspective. So when you have a good closer combined with a great starting rotation, you only need maybe an inning or 2, maybe like for the 10 innings for 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, when they played the Yankees last year, I know I keep jumping to that. That's really where I focused on the Astros the most. Last year's bullpen, it was basically throw 8 innings as a starter.
Yeah.
Give it to Ken Giles. Now they have Osuna, and they have a little bit more of a bridge.
Yeah, I agree. I think Houston's just such a solid team because they're as good as Chris Sale and David Price can be, they're not as good as Houston is. They're not as good as Verlander, Cole, and then you also have Keuchel, a guy Keuchel started in the wild card game a few years ago and won it, and now he's their third starter.
Yeah, I mean, I know that because it was against the Yankees in 2015, so I have a little bit of history. Sorry, as I'm shutting off some stuff because my laptop is about to die, and my fuse box in my room, which is what I wanted to tell you a little bit about. So I can only have a certain amount of things plugged in right now before the fuse blows. So I had to turn off stuff.
Makes sense. I got it, bud.
Yeah, I have my phone charging in the bathroom right now.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's not right now, but I had the charger in the bathroom plugged in.
All right. Well,
but yeah, I know it's not this podcast.
It's all good, buddy. But is it time now? Can I finally release my opinions on the Yankees?
Well, let me just. I'm not going to go very quick. I'm going to go very quick, I should say.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think
I'm ready. I'm waiting. I'm warmed up in the bullpen.
All right. So let me just try to get another out of me. So
one more.
So Astros have a great lineup, everything, and Boston's pen is shaky.
Yeah.
They have great hitters, but I think in the postseason, pitchers beat hitters.
Yeah, I agree.
And these games are going to be close. Astros defense is a lot more solid.
Oh, for sure. Of course.
And the Astros know Alex Cora.
I mean, Vin, let's just look at it from a simple infield perspective. Like, you know, I'd probably give the outfield advantage to the Red Sox because I love Springer, but if we're looking from a defensive perspective, JBJ, he's one of the best out there, no questions asked. If we're looking strictly defensively, Mookie Betts is a stud. He might win an MVP. You have him in the outfield, and then you have Benintendi, who's another great outfielder. So I think the outfield advantage goes to the Red Sox. When you get into the infield, now I couldn't name you the first baseman for Houston. But your second baseman is Jose Altuve.
Is it Tyler White?
I think he plays a lot more DH now.
Because I know Maldonado catches sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of who it is, you look at second base and you have Jose Altuve. You look at shortstop and you have Carlos Correa. You look at third base and you have Alex Bregman. So their infield is better. Their rotation is better. Their catcher is better. The only advantage that I think Boston has in this series is their outfield, which only can help you so much when Houston's hitting home runs.
Yeah, definitely. So as I'm just trying to get myself situated as I have my chart.
I got you, buddy. That's why I went on that long little rant there about all the players.
Speaking of your little rant, I want to hear your hot take that you've been talking to me for the past 48 hours on.
All right.
About the Miami Marlins.
I've been well, hang on. Before we even get to that, I want to just say a quick little statistic from the Boston versus New York series. I should have brought up a little bit ago, but I was going to say in the series, Giancarlo Stanton and Gary Sanchez combined for 5 hits and 1 walk with 28 outs in 34 plate appearances. Aaron Judge and Gleyber Torres combined for 10 hits, 4 walks, and 19 outs in 33 plate appearances. When you're considering that's your basically 2 and 3 guy versus your 1 and 4 guy, not even, because Andahar probably should have been your 4 guy for a lot of or Didi should have been your 4 guy. But in this series, it was certainly Gleyber was your 4 guy. Well, in this series, he was your number 2, if you exclude Sanchez's 2 home runs. But I was shocked by that. Now, that will bring me into my next take about, first of all, I hate Giancarlo Stanton as a player. I think he's a great dude, but I think the fact that he's home run, strikeout, he's home run, strikeout, ground out. Those are your 3 choices. Unfortunately, all he did in that last game was ground out 3 times and strike out when it mattered most. And that is why, in my opinion, you made the wrong trade. You should have traded for Christian Yelich because right now that dude's on a 12-game win streak, even though he was 0 for 4 tonight.
Yeah, but just to jump on that quick, I don't think you could say they should have won for Yelich because of 1 year. The Yankees built this for foreseeable future, and they have their corner outfielders. At least that's what they thought they had.
I mean, but here's the thing, though, Vin. You don't have corner outfielders because Stanton and Judge, both only one of them is going to play in the field. You're not in the NL, so one of them is going to bat. You're in an NL ballpark. And I feel like if you had Yelich, you could then move him into the outfield because he's a solid defender, which would have been great in this series, especially when Hicks got hurt. So I feel like that really hurt not having that. Like you put in Gardner in the outfield, which I love Brett Gardner. I think he's a cool guy. But if you would have had someone like Yelich on your team rather than Stanton, especially considering he's much less of a strikeout risk, I think it would have helped a lot. But anyway, we're talking about Stanton, and that's why we're going to say it right now.
This and is Yelich.
Yeah, we're talking about Stanton and Yelich. We're getting into one of my favorite quotes.
And why we have this podcast titled what it is.
This title was appropriately named on something I wanted to talk about for this episode. Derek Jeter was an inside job. Now, I've prepared some notes for this exact reason. We're going to talk about the players that are currently still on the Marlins roster versus the players that they either traded or released in the past season, in the off season. So, these are the players that they got rid of. Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton, Marcell Ozuna, Cameron Maybin, Hechavarria, D. Gordon, Justin Bour, and A.J. Ellis. Combined, those 8 players have a combined WAR of 18. Now, we're going to look at the top 8 players on the Marlins in regards to plate appearances that are still on the team. So we have JT Realmuto, I think it's Brian Anderson, Starlin Castro, Miguel Rojas, Derek Dietrich, Peter O'Brien, JT Riddle, and Martin Prado. They combined for a WAR of 16.6. Now, we're obviously not going to talk about the pitchers they called up or the pitchers they had because the pitching WAR makes it a little bit of a weird stat because they all have like 1.5 regardless. But here's my thing. Derek Jeter traded away Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton, Marcell Ozuna. Those 3 guys alone, that's your outfield. That's the core of your team. They traded away those 3 guys. And, you know, the idea was we're going to trade them away for prospects, right? That's the plan here. So their farm system at the end of last season was 28th. Following all the trades, they rose all the way up to 18, but now they've dropped back to 27th. And you can say a lot of that. I know this was your argument, Vin, if you want to go into it, about they called a bunch of guys up, but really they didn't call up that many. They called up, I think, 3 prospects out of their top 10, which I know is a lot from your top 10, but only one of them really paid off in Brian Anderson. He had a 3.9 rookie year getting called up, and a 3.9 WAR is very impressive. But my question now is, are they going to trade him too?
Well, I think they traded Stan. Jeter wanted to get out of that contract, and
I'll give you that.
And, you know, it wasn't his regime that made that deal.
Yeah. So I'll give you the Stanton trade. Yeah. That's the trade. That's one trade personally that I agree with because I think that was a massive contract. In my personal opinion, I think that could turn the Yankees into the new Mets because I feel like it could be that contract that you're still paying the guy after he's no longer with you.
So it's basically the A-Rod situation.
No, not A-Rod. Well, who are the Mets?
A-Rod they paid for a year after he retired.
Well, yeah, but who are the Mets still paying?
Oh, Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah. I think Giancarlo Stanton could be the next Bobby Bonilla.
Well, I don't think he'll go that far.
I mean, we hope not, but I'm saying it's a possibility.
Pray to whatever you believe in that does not happen.
before we move on, because next we're going to talk about we're going to move on to the NFL after this.
Yes, we actually talk about other sports than baseball.
But before we get into the NFL, I just want to mention that of those players that I just mentioned that are still on the Marlins, their team, aside from pitchers, consists of 3 catchers, 4 guys that primarily play in the infield, and 8 primary outfielders.
Yeah, well, I thought going into the season, no trades, they were a pitcher away from being a postseason wild card team, potentially.
What?
I mean,
Then
they have young pieces. They had Ozuna, Yelich, Stanton. With everybody before the trades and everything.
I thought you meant after that, but
before.
like during the season. Yeah, I agree with you then. I thought they might make a wild card last year.
Yeah, I mean, that team was a pitcher away, in my opinion, to making a postseason spot.
Yeah.
And, they had the unfortunate circumstance of Jose Fernandez.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
So that kind of ruined their plan, which, I mean, it sounds very cynical to say it that way.
Yeah, it sounds bad, but in reality, it did kind of ruin what they had planned.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think it's an inside job as that. I think that's like a Bush did 9/11 type of thing.
I mean, that is kind of the joke that I have here going, but that was more just for your views. Thanks, guys.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know what direction this Marlins team is going. Being in Florida, it's I get a little more of a pulse on that. I do get to tune into some games. They do have some young talent that's decent.
Yeah.
But they don't have fans fill out the stadium right now.
I mean, they have a stadium with no their most notable fan is a guy that goes to other teams' games.
Yeah. Which I'm assuming he still follows Tom.
God, we don't need to get into Marlins man right now. Basically, I don't like the guy. I think he's dumb. Let's move on. Let's get into the NFL, Vin, before people start falling asleep, because it's currently 1:47 a.m. I think we're an hour into this podcast, and we haven't even mentioned everyone in America's favorite sport.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about golf. No, well, we are more than just a baseball podcast, if you have not known, because this is episode 2, and we haven't talked anything but baseball.
Yes.
Unless you count the UFC 229 Fallout video where I couldn't pronounce Khabib. Oh, dang it.
Vin?
I stopped.
You did.
Sorry,
Basically, Vin could not pronounce Khabib's name. None of us can.
Nurmagomedov. There we go. I had to say it in my head. Okay. Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Basically, Justin and Vin last week did their own little UFC recap vid. I'm not part of that because personally I'm not a UFC fan, but make sure you go watch that if you're at all interested in the topic. But no, we're not going to talk about golf. We're going to talk about the NFL. Vin's going to go through all the game lines, and we're going to give you our personal picks on who we think is going to cover the spread. And then we'll probably go back through and listen, and we'll keep a tally of how we score.
Yeah, so as my computer is being very slow, we obviously are not going to talk about the betting line for the Philadelphia Eagles, which I almost said Phillies there, and the Giants, because that game is already happening.
Hey, Vin, do you want me to look at the lines because my computer's better?
And pull it up quick. But basically, what we're going to do, oddsharks.com, we're going to go up for their lines, and we're just going to see what they have predicted for the game, see what team we're going to go with, and go on from there, see if any discussion comes.
Yeah, Vin, I think with right now, just because your internet's not the greatest yet, I'll go through the lines just because when you're going back and forth, it's kind of messing with the video. So I'll go through the lines. I personally have already. I also am a bit of a gambler, so I love to bet on some games. But so we're going to go through some of these lines. OddShark is a great website for this. They also give you predictions on what they think the score is going to be. But what's nice is they kind of do a consensus based off a number of different websites, which is why I really like them. So obviously the Eagles, we were going to put out a vid before the game. Unfortunately, there were some issues that we didn't get to put a video out. I'm a big Eagles fan. Obviously, I was going to pick them. Vin's a guy from New York to play devil's advocate. He was going to pick the Giants. But, great news, everyone. The Philadelphia Eagles, they're still alive. We're still fighting. Carson Wentz, he's still a great quarterback.
And Odell Beckham Jr. should be the starting quarterback.
Yes, Odell Beckham Jr. should officially be named the starting quarterback of the New York Football Giants. I'm completely in agreement with this. For every other position, obviously the starter is Saquon Barkley.
Yes, obviously, if you watch that game, that was basically what it was.
Yeah. I think we're all in agreement. The only other thing we can mention is that maybe Odell is starting a new love affair with a fan, as in
see
an
that
industrial fan, not a person on the sidelines. But at least it's not a kicking net anymore, guys. He's moved on to objects that actually can move.
So he's moving up in the world.
So
before we lose any credibility on our NFL, before we even get a pick,
of course,
you want to tell the first game.
All right, yeah, let's get into the game. So we're gonna start off with the Arizona Cardinals traveling into Minnesota to face the Vikings. There's a big spread. Right now, the Vikings are favored by 10 points at home.
So you want me to go first, or you want to?
You can go first, man.
I am a big Minnesota fan. Literally the only NFL jersey I own right now is an Adrian Peterson back in the day, which I had to update eventually.
Yeah, you should probably get that taken care of at some point.
Yeah, I'll get you one too, so we can get that.
We're not going to get into the jersey curse tonight. That's a separate video.
I think we touched it actually last episode a little bit, but again, at home, the Vikings, I think they are going to win. I don't think they're covering 10 points.
You don't think they're covering 10? You're going to take Arizona?
I'm going to take Arizona on the spread.
All right, you know what? I'm actually going to take Arizona too because I love David Johnson. I low-key love Josh Rosen. So I think we're both taking Arizona. We're going to move on to game number 2. The Buffalo Bills, another huge spread. They travel into Houston, where Houston is favored by 10.
You see, that game, I think I'll give to Houston.
Really?
Yeah, I think Deshaun Watson got his ass kicked. I think we could say that last week against the Cowboys. I think they're gonna come home and they're gonna be ready. I mean, the Bills, Josh Allen, he's looked okay. I mean, he hasn't looked.
He looked like he was there.
Yeah, he looked better than Nathan Peterman.
He looks a lot better than Nathan Peterman looked. Yeah, that's for sure.
But I don't have much faith in this Bills team. And
I mean, I get it, Ben. I get it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just go Houston plus 10 or minus 10.
Minus 10. That's how it works.
Yeah, I meant plus 10 points.
I'm gonna go Buffalo Bills to cover the spread. My reasoning is very simple. I think Bill O'Brien is a terrible head coach.
You have a lot of issues with coaches.
I have a lot of issues with coaches. I mean, and if anyone's a fan of the Dirty Sports podcast, you're probably going to learn that a lot of my takes are very similar to that of the great Joe Prano. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Coming into my junior year of college, even my sophomore year, I didn't know a lot about sports. Like, I was a fan. He's taught me a lot of what I know about sports. So sometimes it might sound like I'm copying him, but I only considering it copying if it's wrong. And personally, a lot of his takes are right. Bill O'Brien also, he's not a great coach. I mean, the dude has so much talent and he's not able to win games. He just makes bad calls. And that's why I think the Buffalo Bills are going to cover the spread. Aside from the fact that Houston is 1-4 against the spread, honestly, as crazy it might sound, I think the Buffalo Bills could win this game.
Oh, that wouldn't shock me after seeing what they did against Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if Josh Allen does that crazy thing where he starts hurdling people again, if we see Josh Allen hurdle J.J. Watt, I mean, I think it's a possibility.
Yeah.
All right, so game number 3, Carolina Panthers traveling to Washington. Carolina is currently a 1-point favorite on the road.
You see, this is tough because not Arizona, sorry. Washington just got blown out against Drew Brees on the road. Carolina just won, if I remember correctly. Their last game was against New York.
63-yard field goal against the Giants.
One bad field goal. I think they're better than I think the Redskins are better than the Giants.
Yeah.
And, but I want to go Carolina.
You're gonna go Carolina?
Yeah. And let me just think so I hear this right. Carolina gets a point, or they're giving a point?
They're expected to win by a point.
All right, so they're favored.
Expected to win.
Yeah, I think they have at least a field goal victory over the Redskins.
I am also going to take Carolina, and it's in large part because of the fact that Greg Olsen is officially back this week. Bold move. I'm starting him on my fantasy team. I'm hoping he can do some stuff. Cam Newton looked god-awful last week. I think he's been missing Greg Olsen a lot, and I'm hoping that with Greg Olsen back, he looks a lot better. But I guess we'll just have to see. But both of us are taking Carolina to cover that 1-point spread. Also, I am starting to lose my voice, so I apologize to everyone. I'm very sick. I'm calling this my own flu game.
He is deathly ill
with I'm drinking the Gatorade. I'm drinking tea. So we're going to move on to the next game. But I just want to let everyone know and apologize if I start to lose my voice a little bit more.
And, John, I do have this stuff written down. I'm writing down all the picks. So when I beat you for next episode, I can brag. But right now, we're pretty close.
I mean, we only have one different pick so far, but that's all right. Maybe we'll get one coming up. Game number 4, the Chicago Bears versus the Miami Dolphins. Chicago, it's in Miami, but Chicago is a 3.5-point favorite.
Okay, so my thing, Dolphins started off the year hot.
They did.
They got exposed by New England.
Yes.
The Dolphins, they're what do you expect them to be? I mean, if you look at who they played played Tennessee, New York, and whatever third team I can't remember off the top of my head.
Oakland.
So you could just tell they're who you're playing, why they are 3-0.
Yeah.
But
then they get blown out by the Pats. Then they have the comeback loss to the Bengals, where the Bengals came back from down 17. I mean, yeah, I get it.
And, I mean, Chicago, I think this might be a hot take for you. I don't know where you're going to classify this.
Let's see how it is, Vin.
The worst quarterback in the NFL.
You're going to say Trubisky is the worst quarterback in the NFL?
Yes. Right now, out of all the starters, I think he's 32.
32. All right. You know, I'll let you say it.
I do think that even though Trubisky is not my greatest quarterback by any stretch, he's actually on the opposite side of that list.
Yes, he is even though he threw 6 touchdown passes?
I think you forgot what team they were playing.
But 6, Vin.
Yeah, no, I understand. But I watched that game, and
I know.
Yeah. But I'm going to have to give it, even though I don't want to. The Chicago's Bear defense is really showing up.
This defense is legit. Khalil Mack, thank you, Raiders, for giving them to the city of Chicago, because honestly, it's kind of like I'm gonna take this actually from Eric Phillips. He's been the one showing me this here. It's an old Family Guy video where it's like, do you take the boat or do you take the mystery box? Because in the mystery box, there could be a boat. It's kind of what John Gruden did here, where he's like, I can have Khalil Mack, or I could have draft picks. Draft picks could be Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
But you know what? Khalil Mack is currently a Chicago Bear, and since week 1, he's been absolutely tearing it up. And I think he's going to continue to do that here. I'm taking the Bears to cover the spread.
All right, so we both have the same pick for 3 or 4.
I mean, that's because we're both smart, Vin.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're 75% smart. Would
We'll
you?
see. We'll see. I can't trust Bill O'Brien. I just can't do that. All right. Now we're getting into Vin's favorite team, the New York Jets. They're at home hosting the Indianapolis Colts. They're currently favored by 2 points to win at home.
Uh, I'm gonna go with the Jets. So, let me write that down so I don't forget why that I actually said that, even though I won't.
I mean, Vin, I'm this is gonna shock you because I'm very critical of Sam Darnold. I have been the entire season. I have been since before the draft. I'm taking the Jets to cover the spread too.
Well, thanks for nothing.
I
But
I know you thought you were gonna get a point on me there. The thing is, though,
wait, you said enough football stuff. Let me at least talk a little bit.
all right. This is your
So,
team after all.
so T.Y. Hilton's out. As we're gonna say, it's my team. I'm talking about the Colts first.
Of course, of course.
So T.Y. Hilton, I believe, is officially ruled out. If I
I'm
got that
not
correctly.
sure, but there's
I know he's at least doubtful at this point. I know the Jets said that Buster Screen is not playing, which is a big loss
I
because
love
that's a
Russell
nickel.
Screen. I've loved him since Cleveland. I think he's got
Yeah.
such a good name to be a cornerback.
Oh, definitely. And Tremaine Johnson, I believe, is doubtful, if
Okay.
not out. I saw it on my ESPN headline. But I think you can't trust Andrew Luck yet.
No, yeah, I kind of agree with you.
And 2 points at home. They're coming off of the Jets are coming off of a win
Yeah,
against the Broncos, which was pretty decided.
yeah. That was a big victory for the Jets. I think that showed how bad the Broncos are. I want to say it showed how good the Jets are, but at the same time, I think
Yeah, I mean, Darnold looked good. I mean, if he throws a little bit down the field, that would be a little better.
I mean, Temple University, that is my school. Robbie Anderson, alumni of Temple University, known for some things she said to a police officer, but also known for catching deep ball touchdowns. Sam Darnold is finally starting to get into that groove of throwing him these deep ball touchdowns. But what I think the difference in this game is the run game.
I knew it was coming.
Very simple. The Jets have one, the Colts don't. Isaiah Crowell looked great last week against the Denver defense that I thought was supposed to be able to stop the run, but apparently not. Crowell looked really good. I think he's going to look even, I'm not going to say better because I don't think you can have a much better performance than you had last week, but I think he, again, could have another game where he scores 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, well, he broke the franchise record for a single game rushing.
Exactly. So
I mean, Jets have been around for a little bit.
yeah, they've been around for a long enough time that definitely means something.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be honestly a blowout game for the Jets. Like I love Frank Reich. He led my Eagles to a Super Bowl. But the thing is, I just don't think with how many injuries they have, I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with the Jets. I think Sam Darnold's going to have 2 touchdowns. I think Crowell might have 2 touchdowns. I think the defense is going to have a touchdown.
Wow, you're giving
So
them
I'm
more.
already at 5 scores. I mean, I think this game's over.
Yeah.
So moving on, we're going to get on to one of my favorite players. Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns are hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are currently favored by 1 point on the road.
You see, this one's a little tough for me because Cleveland has looked very good
5-0, good almost.
at times. Yeah, I mean,
4-1 against the spread.
they have surpassed my expectations, and I had them at 7-9 coming into the year.
I mean, that's more generous than most people were for them.
Yeah, so I mean, they're looking good. Baker has looked good at times, except for that one overtime.
And honestly, he shouldn't have even been in that overtime. They should have won before that. So,
but I'm gonna say, as much as I hate to, because they're the San Antonio Spurs of the NFL. I'm gonna go Chargers.
You know what, Vin? I knew that was going to be hard for you, which is why I'm going to give you this. I'm taking the Browns because I think Baker Mayfield is good enough to beat this Chargers team. I know the Chargers have looked pretty good this season, but the Browns at home just happen to be in these sloppy, sloppy games where offenses all look terrible. Cross country for the Chargers. And do not forget, folks, before this season, the last win for the Cleveland Browns was against the San Diego Chargers on Christmas Eve of 2016.
And who did they beat to end that streak?
What do you mean?
To end their 635-day drought.
Oh, that was well. They tied against the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
That ended the losing drought, and then they end up beating. Wait, who'd they beat? Wait, who? Oh, that's right, Vin. They beat your New York Jets when Tyrod Taylor finally got injured and Baker Mayfield came out and played like a number 1 overall pick.
You're welcome, Browns fans. We have set your future.
I said before the draft, a lot of people didn't like Baker. I personally love Baker Mayfield. A lot of people try to throw the Johnny Manziel tag at him, but he's not Johnny Manziel. This is a guy that cares about his teammates. He's a fun guy, but he's not a party guy. He might go out sometimes, but he's going to go out with his teammates. I think my favorite thing that really made me like Baker was there's actually this Colin Cowherd video where
Yes.
Colin Cowherd's trying to set him up and say, so let's look at this clip right here. So you score this, you throw this touchdown pass, and then you go running off to interact with the fans instead of celebrating with your teammates. Why are you doing that? Baker looks at him and goes, well, first of all, you didn't show the whole clip. Second of all, why didn't you throw the first 3 touchdowns I threw that game? Because Baker then goes on this little rant where he's like, I went over to thank our fans and our band for coming all the way to Ohio State to come and cheer us on. He's like, I celebrated with my teammates the first 3 times, and then immediately following that, I went and celebrated with them. I know what you're trying to do here, but I'm a good teammate. I care about my teammates. I was merely going to thank our fans, and that was the moment that I fell in love with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, you see, I am a big Colin Cowherd fan, so I don't always agree with his takes. I didn't agree with his Baker take. I did, if Baker fell to the Jets, I did want him. I did think Baker Mania in New York would have been incredible.
I agree.
But
here's the thing. I don't think he's as good in New York as he is in Cleveland.
No.
Because he has so many weapons in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
You know what he's missing, though, Vin? A coach.
Yeah, I've been on the other side of everybody else saying Hugh Jackson isn't a great coach, but I think I'm leaning towards that nowadays.
I mean, I think Hugh Jackson's a great offensive coordinator. I just don't think he's a good head coach.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly feel like if you put Frank Reich in charge of this team, they're 5-0.
Very likely.
All right, so that's the Browns. I'm taking the Browns. Someone else I'd rather go down with, person. So, moving on to an interesting game, in my opinion, the 4-1 Cincinnati Bengals are hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Currently, the Bengals are leading the division. They got a big lead. They're looking to keep that lead even higher. They're a 1.5-point favorite at home.
Okay, well, this makes my pick a lot more simpler because I am going to take Pittsburgh.
Really? Well, here we go, Vin. We're finally disagreeing because I'm going to go Cincinnati.
All right, so let me just tell you why I'm picking Pittsburgh.
All right.
First off, James Conner is not Le'Veon Bell. I want to start off with that. Very obvious situation. But this team was a Super Bowl favorite.
Yes.
With Le'Veon.
Yes.
Le'Veon said he'll come next week, actually, right? Week 7, he said.
Week 7 is his return, I believe.
going into their bye week, I think they're gonna be pumped up for a divisional game,
Yes.
as will the Bengals. Uh,
Okay.
I'm not an Andy Dalton believer.
Neither am I.
So you have Big Ben, you have Antonio Brown, who's been very critical as
Yeah,
of late
he
to
has been.
anybody that has said anything to him.
Yeah.
James Conner, I think, is a suitable backup.
I think he's a great backup. He's a
I like
starter on a lot of teams.
Yes, I like Juju Smith.
Yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster's good. And then you even have James Washington, who's
Yeah,
looked like a good receiver. And then right now, I think their tight end is Vance McDonald. It was
yeah,
Jesse James, but Vance, I think he came from one of the California teams. I don't remember which. Might have been the Chargers.
I believe so.
He is another one of those speedy tight ends that I think is a perfect fit in that Pittsburgh offense. He's a vertical threat.
Mhm.
But here's why I'm going to take Cincinnati.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with anyone on Cincinnati. I believe that the best thing that can happen to Le'Veon Bell is the Pittsburgh Steelers losing this week. Because then going into the bye, they're going to have a losing record again. They're going to be 3 games down in the division. And Le'Veon Bell can go, look what happened when you didn't pay me. And because of that, I feel like the Bengals have a chance to win just based off the sheer turmoil that is the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. I love the Steelers. I think they're a great team. I I've been very critical of Big Ben of late because I think he makes a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
The Bengals have looked really good this year. Their defense has looked surprisingly good in my opinion. Like it didn't look great against Miami last week, but it's looked better than I expected, is what I'm saying. Like I thought it was going to be a bad defense.
Yeah, I could
AJ
totally.
Green just has one of those games in him where he's going to go off. So
I
good
mean,
news for you, Vin, because in our fantasy league, you currently have AJ Green, even though I'm trying to get him from you.
yes, I do need him, especially after Odell not getting the ball at all last
It's
game.
okay. When they move him to quarterback, you'll have once they move
Yes.
Odell to quarterback, you're finally going to have a quarterback on your roster.
Well, I do have Breeze. I just don't have one this week.
I know. But anyway, so moving on, we're going to go to a very interesting game, in my opinion. The Seattle Seahawks are traveling to Oakland and are currently a 2.5-point favorite.
Okay. So at the beginning of this year, on VegasSquares.com in my Vinny's corner section, go check that out, by the way. I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers losing, getting the first pick in the draft.
Okay.
This was before the Khalil Mack trade and everything.
Okay.
I think Oakland is now the favorite to be the first overall pick.
Really?
Yes.
I think they're not bad.
Yes. I mean, I like Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And I like Marshawn. Marshawn isn't Marshawn from the 1 yard line.
No, he's not. He's not. Well, I mean, if they would have given him the ball at the 1 yard line last week, they might have won. They'd be
I did laugh at that.
4. So I mean, they'd be 2-3. So
And I know Seattle had their issues with Earl Thomas.
yeah.
And I was on the Earl Thomas side of that.
Of course. I think everyone not in Seattle was on Earl Thomas' side.
But I think this team in Oakland isn't going to be very good this game or for most of the remainder of the season. And for that, I think Seattle can get a few touchdowns.
You think?
And especially on this pass rush.
Really? You're gonna take Seattle even with Oakland at home? Like Seattle had a heartbreaking loss last week. You're still gonna go with them?
Yeah, I think they're going to play with some emotion. And they're going to win by a field goal.
Crap. You know what? I was gonna go. I was trying to get you to swing, but you know what? I'm going Seahawks too, and I want it to be a Sebastian Janikowski revenge field goal to win it. That's what I'm hoping for. That's my prediction. I was trying to get you to swing the other way.
No, you can't get me to switch on my Seattle Seahawks.
All right, so moving on to the next game. This is an interesting game. The Tampa Bay Bucks.
I would like to, before you even finish that, say
Yeah.
that you said this is an interesting game for the past 3 games.
All right. This is.
I'll put a new
I'm
adjective.
trying to make the. Do you want me to say this is a terrible game between two terrible teams?
Yeah, actually, I think that would be.
All right, all right. This is a team between a quarterback that shouldn't be starting and a game where I think the best player is the kicker. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are facing the Atlanta Falcons.
So when you said the best player, is that for the Bucks?
No, that's Matt Bryant of the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay, so you think Matt Bryant is better than Julio?
Currently, Julio's not looking great because Matt Bryant can't throw him the damn ball.
Yeah. So who is favorite? I missed that. If you
So yeah, Tampa Bay is headed to Atlanta. Atlanta is a 3-point favorite.
And that's in Tampa, you said?
In Atlanta.
In Atlanta, they're favored by a field goal.
Favored by a field goal.
Okay. I'm not.
Remember, it's not Fitzmagic.
Yes.
Both love Fitzmagic, but it is not Fitzmagic. It's Jameis Winston.
I don't think Winston is going to be this transcendent player that.
No, he shouldn't have been the number 1 overall pick, in my opinion.
He shouldn't have been the number 1 quarterback.
No, absolutely not. Mariota is way better.
No, I mean last week.
Oh, yikes. Well, he wasn't.
Yes.
He was in the bye week last week, and the week before that they got blown out by the Bears, and the only reason he came in is because they were down by so much.
That's what I meant for last game, not last week. But getting to watch more Tampa Bay games than I'd like because I'm in Tampa. I get to see Jameis Winston on a very great number.
Yeah.
And including being live for his first game where him and Mariota both debuted.
You know, Vin, we really got to get you that Sunday ticket, bud.
But I see Atlanta winning this. Tampa Bay's defense is spotty.
Yeah.
And I think Julio's going to have a heyday with this.
I don't want to agree with you because I want us to have more different picks, but I just don't see how Tampa Bay can win this game. You let Mitchell Trubisky throw 6 touchdowns against you. What are you going to do against a real team? Matt Ryan is a great quarterback. Okay, maybe elite like Joe Flacco, but he's a really good quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he's a former MVP.
He's a former MVP. He's made it to a Super Bowl. He's more than competent. Way better than Mitchell Trubisky, that's for sure. And he has Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Mohamed Sanu as his top 3 receivers, and then a guy that I really like in Austin Hooper as a tight end, against a secondary that once again allowed Mitchell Trubisky to throw for 6 touchdowns. It's over. So glad that I have some Falcons players on my bench. Going to be sliding them up into the lineup. Let's go get a win this week. I'm taking Atlanta. We both are. You should have started Ryan Fitzpatrick because then we might like your team because he's a lot better than Jameis Winston.
For this season.
No, in his career, I think he's better than Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
He's never in his life said, we eat W's.
I mean, you're right there.
I mean, yeah, exactly. So moving on, we're going to talk about a game that I really like from a fantasy perspective. The Los Angeles Rams are going to face the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
The Rams are heading into Denver as a 7-point favorite. Now, I just want to quick put out an alert for everyone here. If you're in a fantasy league where a lot of people don't pay attention, add the Rams kicker because they added a new one last week, I believe. I think they added Cairo Santos after Sam Ficken was bad. Yeah. If you can have a Rams kicker in Denver, go get him. Just saying. I just wanted to put that out there for anyone that might be listening because if you don't know, in Denver, balls go a lot further than they would otherwise, and the Los Angeles Rams have the best offense in the NFL. So the spread is 7 points for the Rams on the road. What are we doing, Ben?
Now, I don't know if you noticed off the top of your head. Is Santos the one from Tampa a few years ago?
No. That's Aguayo that you're
Oh,
thinking of.
that's
Santos
what I'm
is the
thinking.
guy that was on the Chiefs, but he was good. He just got outplayed.
Okay. Just I thought I was thinking of Aguayo when you said Santos.
No. You're thinking of Aguayo. Don't worry. He's not. Santos is actually a competent kicker.
All right. So I want to go with the Rams, obviously.
I
But
mean, you saw what the Jets did to the Broncos last week, Finn. You can't take the Broncos. They are 0-4-1 against the spread. You cannot take the Broncos.
well, I want them. They're gonna go 1-4-1 against the spread.
All right, Vin.
I think.
I want to thank you for your points. Mark me down as the Rams real quick. I just want that. And
All right, let me explain a little bit of why I'm going Denver. I believe you have at least that you can listen to.
oh, I'll listen to it. I just want to make sure you have it written down that I do not agree with you.
Okay, so Denver on the road is atrocious. They're, I believe, if I remember hearing the broadcast correctly, they're 1-11 or something around that nature.
Don't act like I watched a Jets game. I would never do
that. They're either 1-11 or 1-10, somewhere around that nature on the road. So they're a different team at home.
That they are,
and I think they're going to take that to their advantage. I think,
actually,
LA Rams secondary isn't fully healthy, so I think Emmanuel Sanders can get open just on a fantasy hope alone. And I think that they have a chance to get the Rams on trap week here.
Okay. I mean, I see it, but in my opinion, this once again comes down to, and you've been very critical of this, it's coming down to coaching. I think Sean McVay is probably my favorite coach right now in the NFL. Doug Peterson just won the Eagles a Super Bowl in his second year, and my favorite coach in the NFL is Sean McVay. I don't think anything has been more impressive than the video that I watched where he was recalling old plays that he called. I don't know if you saw that. I don't remember who put it out. But it was like, they were like, so here's the situation. What happened? And he goes, oh, we threw a cross route for a touchdown to Pierre Garçon or some stuff like that. And when I saw that, I was like, dude, you're just such a good coach. And Denver does not look like a good team. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a big win for the Rams. I think 7 points is a little bit of a big spread with Denver at home. I think it might end up being one of those backdoor covers by the Broncos where they get a meaningless touchdown and then ends up meaning nothing except for me losing. But here's the thing. I like the Rams. I think Jared Goff, he's a quarterback that didn't know where the sun rose and where it set. Sean McVay has turned this guy into an all-pro. I'm going with the Rams.
Do you think McVay taught Goff which way it is?
I think Sean McVay is such a good coach that he literally taped to his hands what's right and left.
And just had practice early in the morning to watch the sunrise. And
Honestly, I think he goes, now, Jared, I'm going to need you to wake up, look where the sun is, and at each one of his windows. So when he looks out and he sees the sun, he knows where it is. So you know what? That's why I'm going Rams. I love Sean McVay. I joke about Jared Goff, but he's a really good quarterback. I personally loved Wentz. I'm so happy we got Wentz, but Jared Goff is really good. He's definitely better than a lot of the quarterbacks we've seen come out in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
I'd certainly say he's better than Winston. I'd say he's better than Mariota. Honestly, I might say he's better than Luck sometimes. Because if we factor in the health, of course.
Yeah, the health. I don't know if he would have been as good
Yeah, exactly.
with that line.
Yeah, but with the health, I
Yeah.
honestly could say that Goff is better.
Yeah. Uh, so are we still in the 4 o'clock games?
That was the that was our first 4 o'clock game.
Dang. Okay.
So we're going to our first 4:25 game. We'll pick it up here, bud. I'll pick it up so it's not so long. We've talked about our team, so we're getting into some crappier games, and then there's like one really good game left. Uh, Baltimore Ravens, Tennessee Titans. Baltimore favored by 2.5.
Baltimore.
I'm going Baltimore too. I don't think we need to say that much about it. Baltimore's a really good team. Mike Vrabel, he's got some of the biggest cojones I've ever seen. Going for it on fourth down, ends up winning a game. I really like him as a coach. I just think the Ravens are so good, and they're hoping to be able to tie the Bengals for first place in that division if Pittsburgh can win it. So I'm going to go Ravens. Jumping on the next one. This game, weird to me. Jacksonville is heading into Dallas, where they're a 3-point favorite. I think that's honestly a small spread, considering how bad the Cowboys have been. But what do you think?
Uh, I agree. It is a small spread. I think that's factoring in the health of Fournette.
Yeah, I see that.
Uh, but again, uh, Dallas just has not performed well. I mean, they had their moments. I think they should have went for it on that 4th and 1. I think you could agree with
I
that.
agree. I think that was just. I think that really. Yeah, I think Dallas, Jason Garrett, not a good coach. We're gonna get to see the best dual threat quarterback in the league this week. Blake Bortles, he's so good, man. I mean, he's always running for his life, but he manages to make it work somehow, even though he looks completely uncoordinated. He gets yards. I think he's gonna get a big W this week. Give me the Jags. We're both taking them.
Yeah, you said that was a 2.5 or 3. I believe you said 3. I just wanted to double check.
So now we're getting on to my favorite game of the week. I could not be more excited. And we're going to wrap it up quickly after this. We're just going to do NFL and then we'll sign off. But I'm so excited for the Kansas City Chiefs versus the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, they seem like the only team that can really beat the Patriots in Foxborough at times.
By the way, the spread is 3.5 Patriots at home.
Uh, I've been burned by the Patriots too much in my life to not.
What are you doing?
I have to go with New England 3.5.
All right. I'm probably going to regret this. Patrick Mahomes is my fantasy quarterback. He hasn't let me down. He's got a great voice. I love him so much. He's my hero. Give me the Chiefs. Andy Reid, I swear to God, if you use a timeout when you shouldn't, I'm putting all of this on you, and I will never forgive you. But Patrick Mahomes is so good. Give me the Chiefs to cover a 3.5. I think they lose by a field goal. That half point's big for me.
Yeah, I mean, this Patriots offense looks a lot better with Josh Gordon and Julian Edelman back.
It does. I'm being hopeful here. I love Mahomes, and I think Tyreek Hill can burn their corners.
So just looking at this quick, we have one.
Hang on, we got one more game, Vin.
All right.
The Monday night game. I think we're both going to agree. It's 49ers traveling into Lambeau. The Packers are favored by 9.5.
Oof, that's a big number.
It's a big spread. I think Rodgers is set to play, and the thing I think you need to remember here, Aaron Rodgers is facing the team that had the chance to draft him and said, "No, man, we're going to go with Alex Smith instead."
Well, in that case, a lot of people had the chance to draft Aaron Rodgers and didn't.
I realize that, but I feel like this is he was a 49ers fan growing up, so I think this is a particularly painful one. So what do you think, Ben? 9.5.
9.5. I'm going to give it to the Green Bay.
You're giving it. I'm going Green Bay too.
I know it's a lot of points to give, but I'm assuming this is going off of Aaron Rodgers' health, giving 9.5.
Yeah, of course. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, we'll tweet out if we're making a change. But we're both taking the same one anyway, so it doesn't matter. So
it doesn't really affect us. So we have, if I'm counting right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different picks here.
I'm pretty happy with that. We would have had 6 if we would have gotten the Eagles one in time.
I'm glad we didn't.
Shots from texts, but we're not going to do that. So right now we got 5 different games. I'm really excited for this week. I think it's going to be a good slate of NFL games, capped off by that
You
best.
want to put something on the line so at least we have something.
We'll come up with a bet later once we get Froley involved.
All right. So we'll get Froley's involved, and then we'll have.
Exactly. Once he's involved, we'll come up with something, I guess. But right now, I just want to go through some NFL games because I know there's a lot of people here that aren't baseball fans, so I wanted to throw some stuff in. We were going to talk NBA, but there's been a really long show. We weren't originally planning to do this much. So we are going to do an actual NBA preview, Vin and I, because we're both huge NBA fans. He's a Brooklyn Nets fan. I'm a Philadelphia 76ers fan. Probably not what you expected from, 2 random people. But so we're going to be doing an NBA preview hopefully this weekend. For those of you that have paid attention this long, we want to thank you for listening because we really appreciate it. We're going to actually hope you follow us on social media too. Hopefully that's how you discovered us actually. We are on everything right now at the Long Islander Pod, which obviously represents Long Islander Podcast, not the Long Islander Pod. We are at Long Islander Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Right now, our Instagram is the smallest. The Twitter is where we end up sending the most stuff out just because it's the easiest one. And personally, I love being able to tweet out GIFs. Facebook, we're growing. We're going to be posting a lot of stuff on all our on all of our sites, and on this channel. So look us up. We also have our personal channels. I am jpots_and_pans on Twitter. Jpots and pans. That's me. If you hadn't guessed, I love food. That's why I'm fat. Anyway, moving on to Vin.
Twitter. I am also fat, by the way, so it's okay. But on Twitter, I am at Vin Pensabene, Pensabene. So be on the lookout for that. I do not get to tweet about food as much. I try to stay away from the food aspect.
Yeah, so basically, well, we're going to put everything in the description below. You can also find it in the header of our Facebook page with all our social media. I am, like I said, J Pots and Pans on everything, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Justin is Froley393 at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Vin's got some different stuff depending on the site, so we'll just plug that in the description below. But importantly, follow us on Twitter because that's where you're going to see the most content from us. That's where you're going to see the stuff about the show. So we're going to get to see me posting GIFs where I insult and try and trigger fans of MLB and NFL teams. And, we'll talk to you next week. Actually, not even. We hope you enjoy. Anything else?
Right, so you cut out a little bit. So on the ending. So we'll see you next week. Unless the NBA podcast, we're
gonna do our NBA podcast. We're hoping to have that released either Sunday night or on Monday.
Yeah, it will be before the season officially starts.
Yes, unlike everything else, we want to have it before a game is played. So we're hoping to get that out in the next couple of days. We're going to be giving you our predictions on teams' wins, going through all those over-unders, our predictions for who's going to win the titles, who's going to make the playoffs. We have a whole thing. We're really excited about it. Vin and I are huge NBA fans, and we hope you tune in. So follow us on everything at Long Islander Pod. Thank you, and have a great week.